All right, this is Clint from the Door, hanging out with Julien from Void Paradigm. I just want to say thank you very much for doing this for me. I know it's kind of late at night for you or early in the morning. I'm not really sure what time it is for you at the moment, but it's early in the morning for me, so that's a good thing. Uh, but like I said, I'm going to start off really simply. So this is the very first record that I've actually heard from you, and I kind of went backwards from here. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this record where it seems to be just two long 20-minute tracks. And I kind of wanted to see what the rationale was by naming the album the two tracks versus like naming it as something different, or was it specifically supposed to be two separate tracks for different releases and you put it together, or was it always an idea of being one album that's 40 minutes long?
Basically, just like the recording format that induced the length of the tracks, because two side of vinyl disc is approximately 20 minutes. So it
Sure.
was like, okay, I have this time, so I will fill this time with something, and this something was this big song. So it was just like really the format of the recording that induced the length.
Awesome. All right. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the band style because if and like I said, if what I'm saying is too complex, just ask me to slow down. I'll be more than happy to be able to answer it any way I can. Um, but it's almost like you're deconstructing black metal. It's got jazzy elements, it's got proggy elements, it's got some even I'd say like post-hardcore elements in it as well too. But yet at the root of it all, it is definitely a black metal record. When you came in to make this record specifically, did you have all these other elements that you wanted to add into it, or did that kind of just happen as a natural progression?
It's not very conscious, I guess. It's like an evolution from the previous recordings. That the first one was really, I guess, very more simpler. More it was almost a raw black metal at sometimes, but at some point, even if it was already a little bit experimental, but it was very simple in its form. And then the style evolved, and I wanted to bring some new elements, but it was not like I was telling myself, let's put some jazz in it, let's put some. It's just like it came, and maybe the influence of the music I was listening at the time, and did this kind of melting pot. But it was not something I did consciously.
And the reason why I asked is because the last record, Earth's Disease, kind of has beginning elements of that, but it seems like on this record, there was a lot more focus on uh, trying to be a little different, a little left of center as far as tonality, the way things are presented. Where on Earth's Disease, it kind of was more focused on black metal, in my opinion, with other elements. Where this one kind of melded a whole bunch of different styles and sounds. Is that something that you would say definitely did happen, or?
I hope it happened, because I don't know if we can still call this style black metal or not. And in fact, I don't really care about that, because I think the labeling, the style in metal in general, is something that I find it quite fun, because there is this encyclopedic way of labeling everything, which is it's fun in my opinion, but it's not something I'm searching for, and I'm not into this. So I'm not labeling each riff or each band I listen to know
Sure.
what it is perfectly. And so maybe I think in the case of Volt Paradigm, it's not for me to say what is it, and then it's good to hear what other people think of this kind of music, because sometimes I learn from what I hear from other people. And for the very first album, there was lots of people found a Vet Buen Sende influence in this one. And at the time, I never listened to this band. So it's this kind of opinion which make me discover this band. So it's very cool to learn from the other what am I doing, in fact.
Oh, no, awesome. That's cool. And that was kind of funny because I was going to talk about a couple bands that really felt influential on what you were doing, and Voids by End was one of them. Code was another one. I was going to say Damensgard kind of had a lot of kind of vibes to that, where you're adding the strange and the bizarre with the obscure and kind of more extreme metal, which is very cool. So being that those are actual influences of like things that you've heard along the way that have added on to it, that's definitely what I thought I was hearing. So you explained it in the exact way I was hoping I was going to hear it. So that's great. No, that's awesome. Um, so I kind of want to ask, why 5 years between a record? Was it just that you didn't have a label backing you? Did it just take some time? Or I know you have other bands and other projects, and we're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But why a whole 5 years between these two records?
It's basically a lack of time, and the time which gets longer and longer, and postponing everything. Uh, maybe it was not the right time. It was it took some time because also we had a very busy schedule with other bands, with work, with family business. And my two bandmates are now proud and happy fathers now, so it took some time from them at some point, and in fact we began the drum tracks record 2 years ago. So the recording process took a very long time because we are quite apart geographically, and sometimes it's just not easy to be the three of us together. So it took some time, and we are not very hurry with this band because we have other projects, and it's like let it come when it's okay, and then Avantgarde was okay to release it, and it took nearly a year more because he was busy with many other things. So that's why 6 months, 1 year, and you add that, and it's 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned 3 years in the span of a minute, so I can see how that changed things pretty quickly. Um, and I kind of want to talk about, so you switched labels from your last record to this one, and Avantgarde, of course, is a legendary label. I mean, some of the most well-known doom and black metal bands that have pretty much walked this earth have worked with them in some way, shape, or form. So I wanted to kind of ask how you got working with them, and how's the working relationship been so far?
In fact, the Avantgarde released the first Sordid album, my other band. So I already worked with them. They released two of album of this band, so we were very happy with working with them. And when it came to release the third Void Paradigm, we didn't have any label because Apatia Records just closed, so we didn't have any labels. And I wrote to Rob of Avantgarde, and I was thinking it's the best label for this kind of music, and the name itself of the label, is perfect for what we are doing. So I asked him. I was really impressed by his latest release and the quality of it, even in the design. And so I wrote to him, and maybe 1 week later, he told me it was perfect for him. So we were super happy, and we are very happy with the result because the objects are gorgeous.
And that's what I kind of want to talk about. It's so nice to see all these labels really taking care and time, especially on vinyl releases and things along those lines. Um, I'm an older guy, so like I miss the days of going to record stores and be able to pick up a record and not knowing, who they are, and buying it just from looking at the gatefold and saying like, okay, this album cover is super cool. I'm gonna buy it just because this looks like something I want to own. So I kind of want to talk about your artwork because, especially for the Ultimate Pulsation record, it is very abstract. It's very different. It's not something I would typically say would be, again, and I'm not labeling you black metal, but the world labels your band black metal. So I love that it's a non-black metal looking record for a band that's extreme like you are. Was that artwork kind of done all over the theme of the record, or did you just find a cool piece of art that you really liked that you felt fit the music? Kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
In fact, it's a series of photographs by Louise Bruno Dottir, which is a photograph which is who works on nature and the suffering of nature by human. And there was this series with very bloody cliffs, like you can see on the cover. And at some point, when I had the lyrics ready, I thought the lyrics fit very good this kind of visual art. So it was like an evidence to use this for the cover, for the cover art.
Nice. Yeah, no, it fits really well. It kind of gives you that disturbing left of center kind of view of what the sound of the band really is. So very cool. I just wanted to say, like, I love that. When I listen to music, I like to envelop myself in everything. So album art, the music, the lyrics, and that's kind of where I was going to talk next. So the lyrical content. I don't know if you wrote the lyrical content or yourself, or if everybody else helped. But there's some pretty intense elements on this record. So if you could kind of talk a little bit about that, and at the end of the day, how it became what it was.
I wrote most of the lyrics, and Joe, the singer, had some sentences from here and there because he need, for the musical purpose. So it was like a mix of, I would say, semi-automatic writing and versified writing, because I wanted this kind of writing to fit the music, which sometimes is very catchy and very, almost rock and roll. So versified lyrics, and sometimes it's more experimental. So I just let myself write like semi-automatic things, just with letting the words come to the head, and then clean a little bit everything and rearrange everything to fit the music.
Awesome. And then I guess where I'm going to move is a little bit different, because you have a pretty vast stylistic of music that you create. From every band that you do, the one awesome thing about you in general is your bands don't sound the same, which is something that is not always the same way. There are bands where there's guys that are in 20 bands and 18 of them are almost identical and you can't tell them apart. So you go from one of my favorites, which is the funeral doom and the more doom styles of I think it's Araxia, but I don't want to butcher the name too much. But like I love that because that style mixes more of like dark metal, suicidal metal, and funeral doom to where it's more personal, because I've written and done doom metal and funeral doom for the last 20 years myself. So it's just a love of mine. To this, where it's more kind of avant-garde black with some really extremities, to where at certain points in times, some of your projects, and this is all praise, don't take it the wrong way, sometimes they're more rock and heavy metal, like just traditional, like they're not even, I wouldn't even say extreme. Sometimes they're just like a good heavy rock record. I kind of want to ask, like, do you have all these different bands because it's in your head and it needs to come out? Or is it just simply that somebody starts playing with you and these ideas come together and, oh, hey, this is a great sound, let's put a record out?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think when I play in a black metal band, I don't want to make a classic or an average black metal. I need to put something more in this, and I need each band I play in to be something personal, of course shared by the other members, but it has to be something new, because I don't. I don't find any interest in just copying some style over and over again. So I need it to be new each time. And I guess it's from maybe my classical, training as a guitarist, and I'm a classical guitar teacher. And classical music, when it comes to guitar, it covers 5 centuries of music. So it's not just one style. It goes from Baroque and Renaissance music to very contemporary. So I guess when you want to do something, you have to bring your touch and to be open-minded, because it's even in Ataraxy, which is I think the most classic doom style band in which I play. Even in this, you can find some step out of the style to bring it of the rare.
Gotcha. No, perfect. Awesome. Have you ever thought about maybe releasing a split between two of your bands together so people that don't know one may get to hear the other? Because the reason why I say that is because their bands are so drastically different. I wonder if a lot of people listen to multiple of your bands, or if they just kind of lock into one and then go to the other, where my musical taste is more broad. A lot of people kind of lock in either to black metal or doom metal or heavy metal. Like, have you ever thought about kind of doing maybe like a collaboration release between some of your projects?
In fact, there is a collective in Rouen, where I live, which is called La Harel,
Okay.
which is named after a riot in this town in the Middle Age, which brings together many of the bands of the city, which shares some members in common. So it was like a way for us to make a real something that was just a bunch of friends making bands, and so it just had a name. And we hope sometime to release a mixtape, a compilation of the bands, so it can be a little more official.
Nice. Very cool. No, that's awesome. I didn't even know something like that was happening, so that's kind of cool. Um, I kind of want to talk about live versus recording, because I don't know, of course, with the way the world is right now, who the hell knows if anybody's going to play music in the next year or two. Like, I'm just not sure right now. But with Void Paradigm, uh, what is the live versus studio kind of vibe like? Do you try and reproduce the record the way it is? Is it a very different experience live? Like, what would you like to present?
We don't play live, in fact, with Void Paralleling, because
Oh,
there are only 3 of us, and I record all the guitars and bass. So playing live would mean find a guitarist and a bassist, which is not so simple. And we have playing bands, so adding another live band, it would not be that easy, but. During the recording session, we try to keep this, this live feeling. And for example, Alexis, a drummer, who is not a black metal drummer at all, but more comes from jazz and rock and whatever.
sure.
Uh, he, he really like, to play loops of the same riffs several times, just to try something and improvise, and then get the right feeling, and this is the track. So it's like improvisation. It's not the studio session are not very written. There is a lot of place of room for improvisation and for live vibe, I guess.
Nice. Yeah. Well, that explains a lot about the record then, because you were kind of got me going into another question already. So I was going to ask, it seems like the musicians that are playing with you are not traditional metal musicians, because just the way the arrangements are, just the way the things are done, just the way the overall record is, it felt like there was a lot of jazz, there was a lot of progressive elements in the record. And Overall, when the three of you come together, and I know you're the majority songwriter, I understand that, but when you get together, do you all put ideas in together musically, or does one person, just yourself, write the majority of the music and then everybody kind of adds layers to it?
In fact, I record demos version of the songs at home with drum machine and everything. So, and I submit this to Joe and Alexi, and just by mail, we manage to rearrange some stuff because sometimes they find a riff which is too long, so I cut it off and everything. But Alexi brings a lot of his feeling of his non-metal feeling, and I was really glad at the very first time for the very first album when he was okay to join the band, because I knew he will bring some extra musical stuff into the band and another feeling, because it's not metal at all at the base. And when I record a riff with a blast beat and everything, sometimes you can bring a totally different drum playing, and it's just perfect because it transcends sometimes the riffs and the music we are trying to make. And for Joe it's the same. He brings his own vocals ideas, and he do all the rhythmic placement of the vocals.
Nice. All right, cool. So I just have a couple more questions, and then I'll let you have your night back. So I appreciate you again. The next question I kind of want to ask is, if there were 2 or 3 bands that you would say influence you the most for Void Paradigm, who would they be and why? And I don't care if they're metal. I don't care if they're not metal. I like, what bands made you want to start playing this style?
It's very difficult because it's difficult for me to name this because I listen to very large spectrum of music, and I don't know what influenced me at what time, and but maybe Deathspell Omega, of course, can come to mind when we speak about this kind of making metal, but. And recently I discovered this Dutch band Touria. I don't know if you know them, but very good band. And I had the chance to tour with them with Sordid, and I think it's a big influence for me now because riffing is terrific, and I listen to it very often. So maybe it can be called a new influence for me now.
Nice.
I'm classical music a lot because I listen a lot to this, so it's often in the background, often in the air.
Awesome. Like I said, I could tell there was a wide range of influences, and I knew it wasn't going to be the easiest question in the world, but I kind of just wanted to get a kind of taste of what brought you to here. As far as future music for the band, is it going to be continuing in a similar direction? And the reason why I ask is because it almost feels like between the last 2 records, the Earth Disease and the new one, there has been a natural kind of step into the more avant-garde. Is it going to go more that direction? A little more interesting, a little less metal, a little more left of center, a little more spatial is almost that feels like it's a good word because you added space on this record where I feel like the other ones it was more dense. So is newer material heading in that direction, or do you have no clue because nothing's written yet? It's just gonna happen when it happens.
For now, what I can just say, there is a great motivation in doing new stuff because Avantgarde signing and release of the album is something we really, it was a really great source of motivation for us. And I think it's a blank page for now. We don't know where we are going, and everything can happen. And I guess the difficult stuff for us is to keep doing new thing. It's managed to surprise one more time. So I guess I hope it will be possible, but we will work on that.
Okay, no, that's completely a fair answer. I respect that fully. So the last question I always ask every band it's the same one, and I get different reactions and responses. Some are great, some are crazy. But if you could have any one band take your music and make it their own and interpret it, who would you want to try and cover or rearrange Void Paradigm?
To do a cover of the Void Paradigm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would cover you, and they would make it their own, like, try and influence it and change it. And what band would you like to see try and cover one of your songs and make it original?
ZZ Top, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. I love ZZ Top. A bluesy influence of that would be phenomenal. Cool, cool. Awesome. So what I'm gonna do is, as I do at the end of every interview, I'm gonna give you the floor to be able to talk about whatever you want, upcoming music. It doesn't have to be just about this band. Whatever you're doing, whatever's on your mind right now, especially with the way the world is. I kind of like just to let artists kind of have an open forum because they're not getting it a lot right now with the way the world's being shut down. So talk about whatever you want for the next couple minutes.
Okay, but first of all, thank you very much for this this interview, because it's always very pleasant to know people are interested in what we are doing. So
you're very, very welcome.
And maybe I like to say good luck for everyone, because it's difficult and tough time right now. So we are trying to do our best, and in any part of our lives. And in music, it's very difficult to find the strength to go forward, because all the projects are kind of very hazardous. With gigs, we don't know if we will play gigs anymore. So I would say, let's keep strong together, and maybe we'll get through this.
Perfect. All right. Well, again, I will make sure that there are links to your Bandcamp, to Avantgarde's, to page, to your pages, so all the music fans out there can listen to this project plus others of yours. I just want to say thank you deeply from my side, because I really think the new record is amazing, and I think a lot more people need to hear it. So I hope my little piece of the world here, with the hundreds of people that are probably going to watch this, will get you some more press around the world as well too. And again, thank you for everything you do, and you have a great evening. Okay.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the bad accent.
Oh no, it was more than fine. Thank you again. You have a great night.
Thanks. Bye.